And then my dad got an offer to work in Mozambique, which had just gotten their independence from Portugal. And so he left, but my mom couldn't leave yet because she was finishing a degree in nursing, her second degree, and so he went there, and we were supposed to follow in like a year or 6 months or something like that, right? And my mom literally told him, "Hey, I think Christian's gonna die. I'm gonna send him to you." Like if he stays here. So, so she basically put me on a plane with a family that was going there alone, right? And I remember walking through, I kid you not, in a blizzard to the plane in Moscow, in a blizzard, coughing, right? God, like these, the cough that doesn't go away, like in your chest, dry
Yes.
cough, and then 20 something hours later, they opened the door in Maputo, and it's this tropical, humid air. It's so different because it's the middle of summer there, right? The opposite poles, and
And
uh,
that's
and that's
that's Southern Africa, right?
yeah, that's Southern Africa. It's tropical in the middle of summer, the very opposite, and that my life changed like dramatically from that moment on, because like I coughed for a year. My dad tells me for a full year I kept coughing, but then I was never sick again ever. To this day, I'm like I don't get sick. So I think the climate had a lot to do with getting my immune system back to normal.
Okay. Well,
Hmm.
I'm curious then, was your mother happy in Russia?
I think so. I mean, that's all she knew. Like in the sense that like your friends are there, your language, right, all of that. Um, so I don't think she had sort of an economic dimension was not as pronounced in contrast, like in America now. I look back and I go, man, I can't even imagine it. Like it feels like a parallel reality to me, right? Our life here in the United States. But at the time, you get used to anything basically. So if
Hmm.
everybody's poor, you're happy, you know.
Relative, yeah.
Yeah, because mediocrity is the norm. You're okay with it. There's just nothing. You don't look around the corner and go, "Wow, this person has it really good," because everybody's poor. It's sort of incrementally better, maybe, but really, there's no difference in between the lifestyles of people
Okay.
at the
So,
time.
how did you adapt to Mozambique besides getting healthier? And did you actually find that you enjoyed life a little bit there?
Very much, yes. It was just heaven because it was it was we were unsupervised, and I had friends from every nation, would roam the city with no supervision. The weather was fantastic. We went swimming. We were by the ocean. We would spearfish with my dad. We'd fish with my dad. We'd go on trips, and it was just beautiful. It was absolutely beautiful. Now there were other things that were not in comparison. Again, right, when you come from the baseline of the Soviet Union, everything is really good. Um, but uh, but in the sense of the freedom, it was fantastic. I went to a Portuguese speaking African school for a year. They was probably the only, I don't remember seeing any other non-Africans there. There were some Indian kids, but they were like third generation Mozambicans that were just ethnically Indian. Um, so they sent me to that school. So I had to learn one language, and then they sent me to an international school the next year. So I had to learn English. So I had to learn two languages in 2 years, and that was interesting because I, you absorb it through your pores as a kid, right? But I was still definitely paralyzed. My dad tells me I was silent for a year. Like I wouldn't speak in public settings because I didn't. It was just too much. I already spoke two languages, and I basically moved to four countries by age 7. Like they kept
Wow.
changing the countries on me, and the languages and the people and the culture and the body language, and everything changed. So I think I was just sort of a little confused at first, and then I sort of caught up with it, and we developed this. That still I feel like a superpower now to me is that this almost like a multi-channel ability to understand people, to read people, read culture, understand language and words and behavior on such a different level, because you are forced into adopting so early on in life, right?
Hmm.
And so we'd have these dinner conversations in my house, And like my dad would say something in Spanish, my mom would answer in Russian, my sister and I could contribute in Portuguese or any of the other languages. And that was like a normal dinner conversation. No one thought it was abnormal. And then we would even mix two languages in one sentence sometimes, because you start the sentence and you find the word that's perfect, only this other language, you know. So,
That
so
was
it
something I
became
wanted to ask about. I know
yeah,
that Germans specifically have a lot of words that don't translate to English.
right.
And I was wondering then, so how did that mess with how you thought? Did you think in the multiple languages, or was it a blend, or did you compartmentalize?
It was a no. I would think in the language of the place I was in. I'm still that way actually. So if I go to, let's say, to Brazil, and I would like, it's a bit rough around the edges. I don't remember words because I'm not immersed in a Portuguese speaking. In 2 weeks, like, my ability to express myself doubles or triples. By week 3, I'm gonna start dreaming in Portuguese, quite literally, or thinking in Portuguese. It's I think it's my theory is that because if languages are hardwired like early on, you can actually switch operating systems, so to say, rather than having a translator in your mind. So if I'm in Russia, I can think in Russian in 2-3 weeks. Spanish, same thing.
Okay.
If I'm in America, I'm like, this is my fourth language, and I'm completely fluent, not only in speech, although you might detect a little accent, but in thought. I think in English.